Good evening to you and welcome to Correro, a platform where we dissect Nigerians' political policy and other pressing national issues. I am Godwin Sunday. Across Nigeria, the conversation around workers' welfare has once again taken center stage following debate over federal workers' wage awards. At a time when inflation, rising living costs, and economic reforms continue to shape household realities, the question of fair compensation has become both an economic and social issue. While wage awards are meant to cushion the impact of hardship, controversies remain. Are the payments adequate? Are they sustainable? And how, upon looking at all of these, are all of the categories of the federal workers benefiting equally? Well, beyond the announcements, it lies deeper concern around implementation, transparency, and long-term solutions for workers facing shrinking purchasing power. Labor unions have raised alarm, government officials have offered reassurances, and workers themselves remain caught between policy promises and live realities. The challenge now is finding a balance between fiscal responsibility and the welfare of those who keep the system running. So, tonight on Correro, we examine Nigerians' workers' welfare, focusing on federal workers' wage awards, the issues, controversies, and the possible resolutions. Well, with me tonight on the stable is Comrade Okpanachi Jacob, the convener coalition of civil societies for good governance. Well, it will be helping us even unpack and help us understand what should be even obtainable for the Nigerian workers when it has to do with good governance and welfare. At this point, we'll take a look at a report that is even making the round that will help us even create a background understanding of what the situation is. Then we'll dive into the conversation. Let's take a look.
See him running out. See him speaking out. See him speaking out. See Weekend speaking out. See him running. See him running. Ole! 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 See Weekend running. See him running. See him running. Weekend is running. Catch him! Catch him! Catch him! Catch him! Catch him! Ole! 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 Ole!
Well, it has been an interesting week so far with workers across various sectors, even agitating for their rights. But with me, like I said before now, is Okmanachi Jacob. And first, you're welcome to Correro.
Thank you for having me. Good evening.
All right. You are of course, the convener of Coalition of Civil Society
for Good Governance.
Yes. Let's even take the conversation, looking at what has played out even from last week,
yes,
till where we are right now. Are the Nigerian workers actually even comparing them across the world, are they anything to go by in terms of their wages and also their awards?
Well, thank you. First and foremost, before going worldwide, I think it's proper we look at it from the home perspective. Home in the sense that you have to do a comparison of Nigerian minimum wage within the context of their peers in Africa. We talk about Morocco, Algeria, Ethiopia, South Africa, and the rest, about a set of 10 countries. Nigeria is still taking the minimum out of the 10, with Morocco having about the highest, taking about 4 times what an average Nigerian workers are taking, with a better GDP than that of Nigeria. Then if you talk about South Africa is taking a good minimum wage. You talk about Algeria, they are taking a very good minimum wage. Even Burkina Faso. Now, let's come back home to Nigeria and its effect on the society in its entirety. Look at when minimum wage was increased. What was the dollar rate? Even as poor as it was at 30,000 per month. The increase at when it was done to 70,000 per month, if you compare it with the past, it's as if nothing has changed. Let's come to the post-subsidy removal minimum wage. Of course, you and I know that inflation has had a deleterious effect on the Nigerian economic cycle since the removal of subsidy. Yes, there was a devolution of financial resources to various tiers of government, but is it reflecting? Of course, your guesses are as good as mine. With respect to local government, state government, and federal government, there's a disjointed amount that goes to the pocket of workers, owing to so many factors, majorly corruption. Most of the state workers do not receive what is due them. Well, in the context of what we are discussing at the federal level, we are having also a disjointed pay system. If you go to some agencies and you hear the amount they take, and you go to other agencies and you see the amount they take, you wonder whether these people are buying from the same market in Nigeria. So that calls for question.
Interesting as this sounds, but let's look at all of this issue.
Yes.
In the generality.
Yes.
First, we have the issue around the irregular paying system.
Yes.
Across the country. That's on one hand.
Yes.
On the other hand, we're seeing workers still resuming at the place of work, and they're still happy with all of this payment system. Can we say at this point that the Nigerian workers are not dissatisfied with the system?
You can't say that.
Well, it is what it seems right now. When we look at the protesting workers,
yes,
doesn't reflect 1/3 of the generality of workers in the federal civil service, and same thing as replicated in the state. Are Nigerian workers not dissatisfied with all of this, knowing fully well that even the minimum wage, a lot of states are still even trying to even meet up with the
They are not meeting up.
All right.
Now, if you look at this research conducted way back about 6-7 years ago, it said Nigerians are the happiest set of people. Why were they classified as such? It is because the Nigerian psychology is that of resilience. Amidst tough systems, governance, social, political, and economic quagmire, a Nigerian still feels happy and resilient, coping with the system, living on hope. And I tell you, that is one factor that our leadership in Nigeria have capitalized on and commonized. But of course, as it is, over time, if you allow it to build up, it can lead to implosion. An implosion in the sense that when Nigerians with this mentality rise up at a point, you will not be able to curb it. Of course, the workers are going to rise one day. I had predicted a lot of things that have come to pass.
Well, when you see the workers go to rise, you're making it look as if you're talking about the Karl Marx of
because we have
1914 to 1948.
Because
look at the Marxist theory of the proletariat and the bourgeoisie. Now, when we look at all of that, of course, a lot of scholars will argue that looking at that disruption. Of course, Karl Marx said in his book that the society is a system of contradiction characterized by the struggle of the opposition. And the only thing that can propel change is conflict inherent in the system.
Of course.
But then, looking at where the Nigerian workers are right now, can we say that they are actually dissatisfied?
They are actually dissatisfied.
What we're seeing right now doesn't look like a bourgeois proletariat, a communist manifesto kind of ideology.
In fact, the ideology we are practicing now is worse than feudalism. The system we are practicing now is worse than feudalism. Do you know the effort it takes the FCT civil servants to rise? Do you know how long they have been kept down? Of course. Like I say, a time will come when the workers will rise. the bourgeoisie system and the proletariat cannot coexist until there's a common ground where the sheep and the lion can graze. We are yet to get there, but of course, it is visible that at the center of it all, we have corruption as the major factor. And one of the factors also is that, like I say, we are below feudal system, is that there's high-handedness. A whole lot of people may not have been able to speak until labor unions and other formidable civil society organizations came into the issue. And one thing we should realize is that the civil service controls a large percentage of how government money whittles down to the common man. And you are taking this for granted, and it has been taken for granted over time. So, getting to the point that it will generate the needed heat that will lead to the friction that will control the change that is desired. We are getting there. We are getting there, because you cannot have a people taking minimum wage that cannot take them home. A minimum wage only buys at least a bag of rice, as it is in the current Nigerian context. Now, like I have done the comparison between Nigeria and a few of their pair in 10 sets of a country, Nigeria is still taking the lowest minimum wage. And another factor is that there is low level of information about what is happening around the world within the Nigerian civil service system, because they are so overburdened with work. And the happiness factor that you said, somebody at the end of the month takes as little as what his earning is and still feel happy because it has been able to quench the crisis of that week. Then his struggle continues.
Well, we hope we get to the egalitarian system one day, like you who have rightly said. But then looking at the government,
yes,
in general,
yes,
one word that have been consistent,
yes,
is that we are doing our best in order to address the concern of the Nigerian workers. We're trying to improve the welfare of the Nigerian workers, and these tend to be even a policy framework across the board. But let's even look at what the government has said and where we are right now. Have the government been able to even fulfill its mandate in providing some form of succor to the Nigerian government, the Nigerian workers?
No, not at all. Not at all, in the sense that when we are talking about minimum wage, with respect to the Nigerian worker, it is visible that it just stops at the level of paper and news. Whatever comes to the worker is not even enough, given the current inflation rate that we experience. Of course, we have a lot of indexing in Nigerian economic display from government side. They tell us today, this is so percent, and by the time you come to the common man on the street, it is different. Of course, Professor Francis Idachaba once says, good intentions are not enough. The government may have good intentions, but it is not propelled into action. Not propelled into the action in the sense that you hear that one head of an agency has stolen 2, 3, 5, 4, 6, 7 to 12 billion. Yet, the common worker that moves the file, that goes home late, that stays in Maraba and come in hot traffics, and go back in hot traffic, by the end of the day, goes home with less than what can feed him and his family. That is why I earlier said that we have gone backwards, below the feudal system. What we have here now is just a system that is just running. People take pay that can sustain them for a week and work for a month. That's a disjointed social affairs within the context of Nigerian civil service workers.
So invariably you're saying that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration, even increasing the minimum wage of workers, and is even trying to even prefer a lot of succor to the Nigerian workers. This administration have not done enough, if I get you correctly.
I said good intentions are not enough.
But we've seen practicality.
Practicality in the sense that...
we've seen so far workers even smiling to the bank lately. Just last year. Are
you aware that an average Nigerian worker takes about $47 a month? Yes, by 70,000.
Well, that's interesting to know. That the Nigerian workers.
So if you look at it, I have earlier given a condition that makes it ineffective. The condition is that there was a pre-subsidy removal economy and a post-subsidy removal economy.
Nigeria is not a dollar state, don't forget.
Nigeria is not a dollar state, but the world is calibrated in dollars.
Yeah, but we don't run a dollar economy. For the Nigerian worker, I guess this is why.
You can't rule out the dollar factor. How much do we sell our oil? In what context? We sell it in dollars. Petrodollar has not been totally eliminated as assumed by so many people. Yes, we sell in yuan. We sell in other currencies, but dollar is the major fetcher of the real sense of money coming into the economy.
All right, comrade. Let's look at the issues that the government has even raised.
Yes.
First, a lot of workers do not even resume in their place of work, and they don't even deserve to be paid. A lot of these workers have constituted what they tag as ghost workers in this regard.
Yes.
When we have a situation like of this nature,
yes,
where the workers are nowhere to be found,
yes,
and they are demanding the government to be responsible to them, can we say that the workers are unfair to the government?
Any worker that is not coming to work is unfair to government. Those that are coming, there are a lot of workers coming to work. And number two also, the ghost worker affair is just about a common thing within agencies of government. It is not that ghost workers are ghosted. There are no workers, but there are pays meant for them. That is the ghost worker kind of system we run, syndrome that we have. So these over-bloated wage bills, if you look at it, those that are really working, that are really physically workers, if they are put together and subtract the ghost workers who are being paid by the agencies that do not know them, they call them the ghost workers, and they are the one paying them. If these people are subtracted, I think, and the wages that have been leaking away in the name of ghost workers, through an effective review, will be able to solve the problems we are talking about here. And another thing that can be re-injected back into the system to help is to curb corruption to the highest level. If you hear any government top functionaries under trial as we are speaking, they are being charged with billions of naira. These are leakages and the major conduit where our resources are being fleeted away. So, about Nigerian workers not being serious with their duties, so goes the government, so goes the people. How serious is the government to affairs? If they are serious, the corruption factor that I keep resounding here will not occur. And how are these done? All the leakages of funds that goes out to the bourgeoisie class are intentionally done using this gap that have been created by them, that is to be filled by genuine workers. These genuine workers that are not in place create room for that gap for corruption to take place, and in its highest magnitude. Anybody is being appointed now, all he looks forward to is to be able to amass wealth beyond those that we used to know in those days. And somebody does, most of them does this, not intentionally. They have looked at the life of people that have worked in the past. What did they gain? In return, so many people are working today. If you go to many agencies, their pensions and gratuity are being owed. People that can no longer fight for it. And you go to the pension system, it is so poor that a whole lot of people that have worked and retired.
Well, the pension authorities will disagree with you on that.
They can, but they are physical, they are empirical. Yeah,
there have been a lot of improvement,
but we have not gotten to where we are going.
A lot of persons have been receiving their pension as
of course, and a lot of people too are not receiving.
Well, they will disagree with you on that.
Well, let's watch out.
But let's take this conversation even further. Try to even look at the whole controversies that is playing out even within the workspace of the Nigerian workers. Again, we've mentioned the fact that a lot of workers do not even show up. Now, A lot of workers in Nigeria do not even clock in within the federal level,
Yes.
state level, and
Yes.
also that of the local government level,
Yes.
taking it to the 3 tiers of government.
Yes.
But then, looking at all of this,
Yes.
does the Nigerian worker actually have a right to demand for fairness and demand for government to be responsible to her if all of these modalities that is supposed to be put in place by the worker is not even felt by the government?
Yes. Well, while I do not choose to speak on the side of workers who are nonchalant about their work, it is also imperative to note that factors are responsible for their actions. One of those factors is high cost of living in city centers in Nigeria. You know what, you and I know what housing costs within the spaces of Gariki, Maitama, and within the environs that are accessible to their offices. But unfortunately, because they have to work, because they have to live, because they have to survive, somebody will have to go and stay in Maraba. Somebody will have to go and stay in Suleja. Somebody will have to stay in the outskirts of Abuja.
The suburbs.
Suburbs, to be able to cope with house rent. But unfortunately, like it has always been, a worker living, no matter how early he wakes in Maraba, by the time he starts his journey in the morning, he will be surviving in the fumes of vehicles, alongside with a heavy traffic, and gets to city center by 10, 11 o'clock. Now, justifiably, how are you going to exonerate these factors as a divorce from the fact that these people must survive and must come to work? At least they are trying to do something. So, in this context, government should be able to cushion this effect by returning the system where those days when we're growing up back at home. Local governments even have quarters for civil servants. And low-cost housings are supposed to be developed within the city center. I tell you, a lot of lands are acquired and are moribund. They are doing nothing. Houses are built, are just kept there as a way of saving money that have been amassed from corruption. If you look at most of these houses that are built, it belongs to one big man or the other within the context of our federal civil service. Yet, the common man that works, that comes from far, cannot afford housing in the city center. So, our livelihood and social project of Nigeria should be incorporated as part of the things to make civil. If civil service become effective today, there will be more income coming into Nigerian pocket. And at last, I want to even say that the system should stop overburdening government agencies. Government should create the needed and enabling environment for people to become independent. People go for white-collar job because business environment is not conducive. If people have sources of income that can help them generate wealth or investable surpluses from engaging in one business or the other, I'm telling you, you will unbundle the civil service system, and you have few people, most especially that the world is tilting towards a digitalized system where you can use the ICT to be able to do what 10 people can do at once. Why should everybody go to work for government when there are spaces outside there for people to develop? But of course, if you have good ideas, how do you propel it without finances? And those finances are fettered away in governance without it reflecting on the life of the common man. So, the implosion that I envisage will come someday if there is no turnaround with a post-subsidy removal economy.
Well, You know, when you talk about this implosion,
Yes.
it makes it look as if you sound like a prophet of doom. but then it's enshrined in the Constitution,
Yes.
Section 39.
Yes.
That for you to have your own personal expressions and
Of
your
course.
thoughts. And of course, freedom of thought, religion, and consciousness.
Of course.
It's enshrined
Yeah,
in Section
yeah.
38 of the
Of
Nigerian
course.
Constitution. I beg your pardon. But then looking at the generality of the attitude of the Nigerian workers.
Yes.
We've seen the workers go out to protest. And one thing that has become like a reoccurring phenomenon
Yes.
and a common decimal factor
Yeah.
is that after these
Protest.
workers go out to even to boycott and do all of this demonstration, and they promise the government that
Yes.
they're going to even carry out A, B, and C.
Yes.
If sorting, they give the government ultimatum.
Yes.
But then we've seen situations where these same workers will go behind closed doors to have meetings
Yeah.
with the government, and in just a few hours, the whole protest and agitation is being called off. In such a scenario as this,
Yes.
should Nigerians take even the federal, the various tiers of government, can we take them serious, knowing fully whether they're agitating for the good of workers? Looking at what has played out so far,
Yes.
even from coming from the Nigerian and what they call NLC, the Nigerian Labour Congress,
Yes.
down to the least union that is even enshrined in all of this. And looking at the comradeship which you fall under as a comrade, as an agitator for the good of the country, can we take all of these organizations serious, knowing fully well that after 2 days, it is believed, alleged, that money would have crossed hands,
Yeah.
and these organizations will fade out.
Yeah.
Is this just a money wrangling mechanism, or actually to speak for the workers? Can we take these unions and organizations serious at this point?
Yeah, well, we allow our country to have drifted to where it is now. That is why we complain about this. I had earlier said, so goes the government, so goes the workers. And if there's no tempting government, there will be no tempted workers. And if there are no temptations, I think we will cross the barriers with ease. What do I mean? You cannot derive an American system in a Nigerian society. You cannot derive a Moroccan system in a Nigerian society. An average Nigerian on the street have been polluted by the idea of exchange of hands in terms of corrupt practices, because the government gave it leverage. Corruption in the highest level happens within the government cycle. And if you must know, most of the attempts to keep the workers silent comes from a bargain from government. And most times you see that they don't even meet at middle point. They meet at the other end of it, which is so minimal to what is desired of the civil servants and the workers. But of course, if you look at it, the workers are not derived from another society. They are not hired from Ghana, neither are they hired from Benin Republic. These are Nigerians. And this corruption factor have been embedded because of long-time neglect in the fight against corruption. You are aware that over the stretch from post-independent African nations, most of the coups that have happened are hinged on corruption and irregular malpractices in either the governance system or the existing or state affairs of the preceding government. Till date, we are yet to be able to see a pure system, even in democracy. Of course, Murtala Muhammad, of blessed memory, tried his best to sanitize the system, but of course he was still calumnized. So, until we are able to find that corruption eliminating factor in our system, where what is due to who goes to who, we are still going to find ourselves in this cycle and web of exchange of envelope at the expense of a large mass of Nigerians.
So as it stands right now, we should not take the Nigerian workers serious.
No, that's not what I mean.
So let me get you correctly.
What I mean is that there's an underlying factor to
So
it. They are tempted by government.
if at every point in time,
yes,
We have the Nigerian Labour Congress coming out to agitate.
Yes.
We have the workers across board coming out to agitate.
Yes.
And to even protest.
Yes.
They even shut down federal ministries, agencies, parastatals, and departments of government.
Yes.
We've seen this play out over time.
Yes.
But after a few hours, they said they went into a closed-door meeting with the government.
Yes.
And the leaders of those organizations came out from that meeting and suspend some of their actions.
Yes.
Now, it has become, like I said, a recurring phenomenon and a common decimal factor. At what point should we take the Nigerian workers serious, knowing fully well that they are actually out to even reposition the system?
Yes, the revolutionary actions that always end up so is still evolutionary in itself. Evolutionary in the sense that one leadership comes and goes, another takes it from where. We will get to that point.
Well, so I'm curious because you spoke about the whole system around having more of an egalitarian system.
Yes.
Which is going to be possible.
Yes.
So right now, looking at the divide,
it looks dim.
Looking at the divide between the proletariat and the old bourgeoisie mechanism, as even propounded by Karl Marx and his friend Hegel.
Yes.
When we look at all of the system right now, are we ready for this, or are we telling ourselves a lie, knowing fully well that the Nigerian workers go for protest and 2 hours later closed door meetings and the protests
most times
are suspended?
they
we take this organization serious?
Yes, that's what I'm still heading that's what I had said earlier. A time will come.
So we are not there yet.
We are not there yet.
So we
are not, that does not mean we should not take
in the next 20 years.
Serious.
Can we be there?
It's not. We can't predict the actual.
So
timing.
let's give it a time frame. Going by going by scientific methods, analysis of things.
Yes.
And looking at all of this, can we take probably giving it a period of time? Can we confine
the
it
only
to a time
thing
frame?
that will result to that is what I have told you. When the friction that is going to be generated from what you have identified, from what is visible, becomes hot, the implosion will occur.
From workers that will still go for
not workers.
Meetings.
Leadership. No, it's not leaders.
Come out 2 hours
that is where you have been getting me wrong.
Believe that money has crossed hands.
That is where you have been getting me wrong.
Let me get you right.
Getting me right now is for you to understand that when leadership fails, the responsibility of change of leadership resort back to followership.
And you said that Nigerian is not, we don't recruit leaders from Ghana.
Yes.
These same leaders were made from Nigeria.
As well as we have the bad people within the context of our society, it does not mean everybody is polluted. Certainly, there are a percentage that still have the right mind, the right frame of mind, and the right idea to run things. It might be that they have not come to the position of power to be able to create that change that is needed. And in saying this, I'm saying that implosion is going to come from the bottom where the leadership can no longer control. And if the government, who is supposed to be in charge of both the leaders and the led, does not take charge of the affairs of ensuring that there is a total purification of the system, and it allows it to go down uncoordinated, that is when the implosion comes. But unfortunately, it might be a big conflagration that may not be controlled easily. And that implosion is awaiting and have laid so many eggs. Every average worker in Nigeria is disenchanted, even though you say we are happy.
Don't take me by my word. You can do your research and find the average Nigerian workers.
Average Nigerian workers
seem very happy.
They seem, seemingly, so they are not.
So let's take that to my hypothetical.
Yes. Yeah, from your own view and from my own.
But then,
yes,
you keep referring and revolving around the Marxist theory.
Yes.
And for viewers that are across the world watching us,
yes,
especially in other parts of the world that don't understand what the Marxist theory, well, Karl Marx is a scholar, a political economist, and also is also referred to as a political, a dogged political scholar that has his own school of thought, and it's called the Marxist school of thought.
Yeah.
Karl Marx was born in 1818 and he died around 1884. Himself and his friend wrote a book called the Communist Manifesto.
Yeah.
And that book talked about having an egalitarian society where we have more.
That is the extreme end of socialism.
But so I just decided to just make that record straight for our viewer who is even trying to understand what the whole proletariat and bourgeois is all about. The proletariat stands for those that have not, that is, those that falls in the other side or the other class of the economy, which we call the have-nots or the poor. That the bourgeois stands for those that have, and we call them the rich and the haves, according to Karl Marx.
The haves and the have-nots.
Well, let's return back to even the studio right now. Let's even look at all of this policies by the government.
Yeah.
You've said that some of the policies by the government is just theoretical.
Yeah.
It's just there on paperwork.
Yeah.
It doesn't reflect
in the life of an average citizen. Yes.
Workers in this
average
instance.
worker in this context. Yeah.
But then a lot of governors will disagree with you. Governor Soludo of Anambra State will disagree with you.
Yes.
Governor Oti will disagree with you, and a few other governors will tell you that their policies, when it has to do with the welfare of their workers, has been in tandem with the whole developmental strength of their workers.
Yes.
Now, let's have an holistic conversation right now. Looking at Nigeria, where we are, despite the fact that Governor Soludo, Governor Oti Alex, Governor Somolu, and a few others are doing magnificently well in terms of improving the living standard and the welfare of their workers. The statistics, based on the research, still seems the same. That the Nigerian workers have been programmed to have a mindset of this na government work, no consign me. Whether I go work, I no go work, the government work will go on. Looking at the mindset of the workers, can we say that the workers right now, the controversies surrounding all of these can all be driven back to the Nigerian workers that already have a mindset and not the government?
Well, you see, if we take it state by state, you will see that the attitude to work in states are very different. You cannot have equal results if you turn out a research on how people work in various states. I'll give you an example. I'm from Kogi State. My local government took over 600,000 from federal allocation post Supreme Court judgment. That's for November. The adjoining local government, I'm from Omala. The adjoining local government, which is Ankpa local government, I think one of the second, or yes, one of the largest local government, let me not say second, took 700 and something and above. As I'm talking to you, I'm in connection with home. There's no significant impact of that huge sum that comes per month. That was for last month. I'm not saying for the whole year. It means from January 2025 to November, where budget reported the income to local governments. Both local government that I mentioned, Ankpa, okay, let me say the federal constituency, Ankpa, Omala, Olamaboro, have taken each not less than 6 to 8 billion. Yet, there's no, I can boastfully tell you that there's no contract of up to 100 million in any of those local governments. Go and find out. Now, what am I trying to bring up here?
But people from Ayangba will disagree though.
Which Ayangba? How does it show in Ayangba?
We're taking it down to Ida, to Ayangba, then taking all of those.
If you take it around Kogi State, what I'm telling you, go and challenge me on it.
Well, we will definitely visit Kogi State.
Please
in
do.
order to verify this fact.
Please do.
Well, please go ahead.
I have the records of what comes in through budget. And there is no reflection of it on the life of the civil servants. Yes. Well, let me say the civil servants are even better because the state government pays them. But what are the other factors that led to the post-subsidy removal increment of allocation to the states? Have they been attended to? They are not. And with this comes the drudgery in civil service. Whether they pay them or not, they have something to use in their governance, or rather, in the corruption factor that I have always mentioned.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah, that's allegedly.
Allegedly. Now, coming to comparison within states, you can see that I've been able to do this. Even Borno State, that is crisis reading, is performing better than some states that are not having any form of crisis. But of course, what do we have to say? Until that factor, corruption, is either eliminated or reduced to the barest minimum, it will not give the moral standards that is required of the government to check on its workers. I had always mentioned here, so goes the government, so goes the worker. It is a bifocal thing. If you look at it from here, you see government behaving the same way its workers behave, until there is a self-purification system that people at the helms of affair are able to say, yes, we are ready to sacrifice this tenor in ensuring that we have a complete working system. And I beg to say that if the system works with minimal corruption, what we get now will be more than what we are getting in terms of worker relationship, worker-government relationship, worker welfare, and the social interventions needed to cushion the life of those that are not working. But unfortunately, here we are. A worker cannot boast of being able to. As I'm talking to you, some local government vice chairmen are not having vehicle from government. And they just bought some Chinese trucks and Korean cars and gave them to the chairman as their official cars. Of course, with somebody that takes 700 and something thousand, million in a month, it is not the state government's duty to buy them vehicle. It should be the local government to say, this is the vehicle that is operational for me, let me get it. And they will get better things for themselves. So there's a whole lot of retrogress in terms of advancement in workers' civil service welfare in Nigeria, vis-a-vis corruption factor that I keep mentioning. Until we are able to come down to the level where we start saying the truth to ourselves as citizens, that government is required to do a self-check, an auto-cleaning, where there will be an internal check on what is the wage bill of Nigeria. As I'm talking to you now, we don't even know how many people are working in Nigeria, because every day you wake up, people go to do verification and are being employed. Some are employed without advertisement. Government agencies employ without recourse to the rules. So the ghost worker affair comes in this way, because you don't even know when recruitments were done. If you check next month, they'll say, this agency have been, the figures have bloated, or rather over bloated to so number of workers. And monies keep filtering into, if we keep using our whole money in paying civil servants, how will we make positive progress in terms of infrastructural development?
All right. Comrade Jacob.
Yes.
I've been saying now, right, that our time is fast spent. But before I let you go.
Yes.
I just got a mail that we are talking about the old Nigerian workers' welfare.
Yeah.
We are talking largely about
Federal
the
civil
federal
service.
civil
Yeah.
service, the state and the local government
Yeah.
civil service, that we are being partial, but not
Yes.
even talking about
States.
the average Nigerian private worker that is even working. But then when you look at the average workers
Yes.
in the 6 geopolitical zones
yes.
right now,
Yeah.
how will you rate them in terms of welfare? This is not the government, private entities.
Very poor. Very poor, because they reflect the government system in the private sector, which is very bad. And like I have said, if you compare from state to state, when you mentioned Lagos State earlier, I laughed because Lagos is already tending towards becoming an independent system on its own because it was created so. No matter how much of corruption you do in Lagos, people have things that spends money on a daily basis. People go out to work. People go. So that brings me back to where I talked about creating an enabling environment. How much is the percentage of civil servants in Lagos compared to the population of human beings in Lagos? But in Lagos, give it the kudos of creating the environment for people to be able to achieve. Lagos is running a train system. Kogi State that does not have people that can travel with aircraft is building an airport. Whereas instead of that, I expected Kogi State to build a railway system and create a new hub. If idea is running in Kogi State, what I expected the governor to do, and I beg him to listen to this, is to have created a train system that runs from Lokoja to Abuja. In so doing, you will increase the population of Lokoja, and population is money. By the time you create population in Lokoja, you are creating wealth. The airport he has built, how many Kogi citizens can pay aircraft fare from Kogi there to any other place? Or what is the basic business interest that brings anybody that wants to fly in from outside Lokoja? I'm telling you, once that airport is completed, it will remain like one of those moribund airports that are built without reason. So, if government policies, like I have said, which is one of these, is tailored towards achieving result, of course, we won't have all these problems. Creating that enabling environment for the citizens will help cushioning the effect of the implosion that will await us if government white-collar job becomes the only option for an average Nigerians. But in doing this, we must create the enabling environment. If government create what we call business hubs and people go there, there is constant light, not depending on the national grid. You can come there, rent, do your tailoring, rent, do your phone work, do your manufacturing of little things. A whole lot of people, the traffic into white-collar job will be diverted into private sector. And of course, a whole lot of succor will be enjoyed by Nigerians.
Well, Comrade Jacob, I know that the governor of Kogi State right now is listening and watching us right now, even on this show. And I believe that he will be able to take practical step in some of your recommendations. But I've been saying out again that it's time for us to go. I wish we can have this elongated conversation and spread the time. But then I've been told that it's time for us to go. I want to say thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Finding out time to be with us here on Corero.
Thank you very much.
Well, viewers, this is how far we can go tonight on Corero. Do not forget that you can join and also leave a comment on our various social media handle currently showing on your screen. And you can also download the Rapid TV app from your Android and iOS devices to keep track of our various broadcasts. My name is Godwin Sunday. Always remember that peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Do enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye for now.